It's time for the Wally Methot Show. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Marc Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wally Methot Show, proudly brought to you by Ridge Rock Brewery. I'm Brent Wallace. He's 13-year NHL veteran defenseman Marc Methot, who's always excited to see me.
Always, Wally, and it's a pleasure to be here.
There's that dead air right there when I said it that you had, like, I'm scrambling to think of something to say to you.
You're teeing me up. Like, you know, I can't like fluff you every time we start up a show, right? So anyway.
I shaved today and everything for you.
You look good. You do look good. You look sharp today, and you've got a very subtle tan. I like it.
Well, it's the high blood pressure. Just changes me a little.
I can relate. Okay.
All right. By the way, Ridge Rock Brewing, as we like to talk about, our huge sponsor. You can go to shop with them at ridgerockbrewco.ca. Get 15% off your order. You can mix and match. You can try the amber, the blonde, American Pale Ale, delicious stouts. They got all kinds of stuff. If not, go into Carp. If you're not going to do home delivery, and try out their restaurant. Their food is fantastic. That is Ridge Rock Brewery. Meth, lots to talk about in the show. I made a little tweet, got a little attention.
Yeah.
So it's much on it's funny because you and I do not discuss Jakob Chychrun outside of this show. We've never actually had a conversation.
I agree.
So when people think that I've contacted you, or you've just gone through your agency, which represents Jakob Chychrun, same group, that's where the information comes from. But I haven't had a conversation with you. So
you have a different source.
I got different sources. So, and I was told that it's now, it's 2 first-round picks they would like, Arizona would like to get from Jakob Chychrun, and they'll take Zaitsev, and it's called a high-end prospect. Now, people are getting caught up on this high-end prospect. I just want to point out, don't believe it to be Shane Pinto, who's not considered a prospect anymore. Don't think it's Ridley Greig. I actually don't think it's a defenseman.
No.
But if you look at Arizona's roster, Meth, and people have looked past this, they might need a goalie.
That's exactly what it's. So they've got one guy that's relatively, I want to say, proven. They've got Vejmelka right now, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty evident that they need a goaltender. So that's their main address. So again, this is where people can start to speculate. And thankfully, Wally, you did your due diligence and all the homework finding this info. I mean, it's, you know, it like we're saying it without really saying it.
I wouldn't be shocked. Now, maybe they go, you know what? We actually want JBD, or we want this because we're losing a defenseman. That's fine.
Sure.
But if you just look at the makeup of the roster, they need someone in net. And that's an interesting angle for me. I don't know that, you know, Mads Sogard is ready to play in the National Hockey League, for that matter. And Levi Marilainen obviously is not. And Kevin Mandolese. And Ottawa's not very deep at goal either. Don't get me wrong. Giving up already a guy after they've given up Philip Gustafson is a big move for them. They don't have a lot of strength in goal at the moment on the minor league side. So that's an interesting part to me. But if you're trying to make that deal for Jakob Chychrun, do you do it and go find a goalie?
100%. Are you kidding me? 100% you do. I mean, and again, I'm a little biased because I'm not overly concerned with the American League, right? But and you can always find a journeyman. You can always go out there and find a journeyman.
And Anton Forsberg was on waivers.
Exactly. That's my point. So I wouldn't be so concerned about your American League assets. I would be concerned about dealing, you know, a high-end prospect that might end up being a fantastic player. Like we talked about, you mentioned Greig, for example.
Yeah.
We see what he's doing at the World Juniors. I mean, I don't know that, and I don't believe those guys are on the table. I think Pierre knows better than to do that at this point, because we're talking about some significant role guys. That's what this team needs, right? You look at Ottawa, their top 6 up front are relatively set. You know, for the most part, you can make some tweaks in the couple of years if you need to, but like those role guys, we just had a great interview with Paulie that's coming up. That's a good example of the kind of guys you want to bring up. So you don't want to lose those prospects. You nailed it right there, Wally, when you mentioned goaltending right now might be the way to go on if that's what Arizona's looking for.
It's an interesting dynamic to look at. That's all I want to say. Like, there's no way you're not giving up Ridley Greig for any particular reason, or
no chance.
Shane Pinto just isn't even a conversation starter.
No chance.
Sure, Lassie Thompson. I'm okay with Lassie Thompson and Jacob Docker and those guys. I just don't think that they're ones that Ottawa really wants to part with. And I just, so here's,
but I would be okay with parting.
that,
I would be okay with parting with one of them. And I like both those players very much, but that's the reality of this game. It's a business. And if you can make an upgrade with if you can make an upgrade with a player like Chychrun at his age, with as much mileage, like we always talk, remember you guys always listen to me harp on getting a player that isn't over the hill, right? I know this isn't obvious. This isn't some breaking news, but you finally have that opportunity here. Pierre Dorion knows that. Everyone knows that. So they've been tight-lipped. Obviously, we haven't been getting too much info leaked, but if you can trade a player like a JBD or a Lassie Thompson, you might have to bite the bullet.
Okay. But here's another interesting part of this with Jakob Chychrun. He's a left shot D.
Yeah.
So everybody's fixated on the right side of fixing for Ottawa. Obviously, he comes in, he's not going to the right side. So then it becomes, which I believe is actually a better idea, is that it goes Chabot, Chychrun, Jake Sanderson. I don't know that Jake Sanderson is 100% ready to play in a top 4 spot. And I still don't know if he's 100% healthy to start the year. If he struggles, you don't have anybody behind him. I like actually having Jakob Chychrun on the left-hand side. They still need to fix the right, though.
I agree. I think with regards to Sanderson, though, I'm not going to pretend. I know a lot of people like to pretend that they've been watching him play a ton and they have these hot takes. I haven't seen him play firsthand. I've seen highlights, and we've interviewed some players. I asked Chabot about that last week when I asked where he thought Sanderson was at in his game. Yeah. He sounded pretty confident, Wally, right? Like Shabby sounded like he was. And I know an NHL game is a lot different than a summer skate. And I know that when you're a young player, particularly a defenseman or a goaltender, the adjustment, the jump into the next level is very hard. I know that, but the game's different now. We're seeing players come into the NHL with an immediate impact. So I'm not going to write Sanderson off until I watch a couple of those exhibition games just to see what he's like. But apparently he's game time ready. So I don't know. We'll see.
Fair. And I will defer to you as the ex NHL defenseman of how tough it is to play in a men's league at a young age.
Yeah.
I'm not talking forward. You're eating up 22 minutes a night is tough.
Defending players like Nick Paul, defending massive mutant players like Nick Paul coming down the way.
Or Nikita Kucherov or Connor McDavid, who can light you up.
And that's what I mean, though. Because Sanderson's more of a skilled. Sanderson's known to be a little more skilled, obviously, and has that skating ability. So, I think he'll actually have a decent time defending. I think he'll do a good job against some of the skilled players that aren't necessarily as imposing.
Okay, yeah.
The good test, as you mentioned, it's a man's game, right? There's a big difference. Now you're playing with guys that have families that are putting food on the table to feed their kids. The motivation is a lot different from playing against a bunch of frat boys in college. It's a different game. But it's a real thing, right? I thought I was the man after junior. I won the Memorial Cup in London. I was on cloud 9.
Game is easy.
And then I went to rookie camp in Traverse City. And boy, let me tell you, I was not prepared for that. I was not. I had a disappointing performance. And, then I had a better training camp at the NHL level. But even in those games, I was so nervous and green. I was not ready. So I'm with you here, Wally. I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit. I am confident, though, that he will be a terrific hockey player. I'm just a little concerned with the start, but we'll see in training camp, as I mentioned earlier.
I would like Sports Interaction to actually use the Jakob Chychrun trade. I'd like there to be odds on whether or not it's going to happen before camp.
Well, it sounds
go to
like
Sports
Pierre's
Interaction.
trying.
Go to sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot, log in, and there's still lots to go on with Sports Interaction is my point. If your first deposit, they'll match up to $500 in sports bet credits once you place qualifying sports bets, and those bets have been settled. Lots of terms and conditions apply. But sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot. Just back to your point of, I think that this deal gets done before camp, regardless of where he plays. I just think Arizona is now going to move him before camp starts.
If they're one piece off, as you'd mentioned, right there, I mean, or maybe a piece and I want to say a piece and a half because of some of the smaller details there with the picks.
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't surprise me if this got done over the next 2 weeks. This isn't a hot take. This is just a hunch based off of how close they are. I mean, both teams want to get this done going into training camp. You want your pieces set in stone so your players can get in, and you don't want to push it and push it and push it. And then all of a sudden camp starts and you're already kind of committed, right?
Okay. So if you're Ottawa, you value your draft picks, which we've always seen. Trent Mann does a great job at the draft. Here's an interesting note. So if they talk about being 2 first-round picks, Zaitsev and a prospect, what if it's not 2 first-rounders and you are Ottawa, you offer up a first and they have 2 seconds next year as they have Washington's pick in the second? If you're Arizona, Meth, would you do a first, second? I don't know if it's lottery protected. I don't even care at this point. First, second, Zaitsev, and a high-end pick for high-end player for Jakob Chychrun.
I think Chychrun is worth that. I think that's a fair ask. I do, honestly. I don't think that you should give up. Like I was surprised when there was 2 first rounders potentially being on the table. But I think Arizona knows what they have in the player, and they're certainly confident, and they're certainly not desperate at this point to, like, you know what I mean? So they've got a lot of leverage. And I'm not, I'm not a business guy. I'm not some insider that's going to pretend like I understand all the ins and outs from the front office point of view. But based off of what you're telling me, I'd be comfortable with that. I would be. But I think if the potential there is to go after those 2 first-round picks, you're probably going to put your line in the sand and wait it out.
Like if you're Ottawa, you don't want to. I don't think you want to go 2 years without having a first-round pick. Unless you try to get it back somewhere.
But if Pierre does do that, I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it's okay because now, I know the old saying goes, you can never have enough high-end draft picks, right? Like you can never have enough of them because you never know what you're going to get. You can get that diamond in the rough. You never know. But I think at this point, with the way things are going with Ottawa, and they're so deep with young players now. I mean, look at this. Look at the development they've had. And that's a credit to the organization. I think they can afford now to do that. But to me, as I said earlier, 2 first rounders does seem a little high for the player, plus a pick or a prospect or whatever. That seems egregious. But I mean, nothing surprises me anymore at this level.
But they also got to take back Zaitsev in that contract. So that obviously
but they need but they need to reach the floor anyway. And it's not like he's an incompetent defenseman. Like to me, he's got 1 year now at 2.5 because he had the bonus that Ottawa paid out. I think was that what it was?
Yeah.
And then the following year is 4.5, I think, or whatever it is. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like you're not bringing on, if you're Arizona, you're not bringing on a ton of baggage. I mean, that's you're overpaying for a guy that's technically a 3rd pairing defenseman, I believe, at this point, but he's a little older.
We see it all the
Sounds
time.
like he's a good dude, and it gets you to the floor. So for Arizona, I mean, they need to bring him in. They need that player.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I would do first, second. I'm going to say like Marilainen or Sogard or whatever. And if that's what they want,
well, they're going to need one.
A D. Yeah. And then I would make the deal. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
All right. You quickly brought up Ridley Greig. And I rightfully so have not watched a lot of World Junior, but I have watched him play. I've seen the 2 games where he's been player of the game. He's on a different, like he seems to be at a different level right now. Like Mason McTavish, Connor Bedard, and Ridley Greig seem to be the ones that are really owning, I guess, the Team Canada. It's been fun to watch him play.
Yeah.
Now,
and that's
okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That doesn't make him right now a guy to play in the National Hockey League. Nothing. I don't know if he can or he can't, but everybody's just saying because he's dominating against guys his age, he's going to be that effective in the National Hockey League right away. I think he starts the year possibly in Ottawa with 10 games, but I don't know that he stays.
That's okay, right? Like they're in a great position here because once a player starts dominating his peers, his peer group, his age group, whatever, that's when he's ready to make the jump. Now, is that jump, does that mean he's NHL ready? He might need more time maybe in the American League first to find his game at the pro level. Or, you know what I mean? Like there are so many variables involved. So I think for me, it's simple. You see what he brings to the table in training camp. Players like him are those guys that potentially can bump out a veteran or whoever, but he's going to have to play his lights out, right? Like he's going to have to play lights out at training camp. He's going to have to do well in the fitness testing. He's going to have to really show that he can bring it and be consistent. It's another thing to come out, have an odd, good game. I know you're sorry. I'll finish up my talk quick. You can come into camp. You can have one great game, but then you can follow that great game with a couple very inconsistent ones where you're a bit of a liability on the ice. So there's that mental shift that you're going to have to make at some point. It doesn't happen overnight. So I mean, it's very exciting. And I do think he's going to be a terrific NHL player, probably more of that role player that's got some bite in his game, but can still finish. I mean, who is not excited about that? And so I've got nothing negative to say here other than, like most cases with kids at that age, you have to wait until training camp to see him in some real games.
I just don't want players to get rushed into the National Hockey League. And we've seen it before, and careers don't seem to develop that way as they should. So here's what is Ridley Greig better playing 7 minutes a night on Ottawa's fourth line or 17 minutes a night in the AHL in all situations?
Absolutely no question. Put him in the at least for 1 year, which is nothing, right? But like,
right.
You know, like to have a player like him play, you know, say you said 17 minutes to 20 minutes a night, depending on the situation. I mean, I've went through it. I know a lot of great players. Like I played with Derek Brassard, who's another first round draft pick that I played with in Syracuse. It just takes time, man. Like just for your body to catch up to the pro guys. And then all of a sudden, you know, those players, those prospects or whoever just start kind of leapfrogging a lot of the vets in the American League with their on ice play and their consistency. And that's generally when you have a good idea. Okay, this kid's ready. I mean, he's done grooming at the American League level. Let's give him a shot. And they'll do that because, as we all know, injuries are abundant. They happen all the time, and all these players will get their opportunity. So I'm with you, Wally. I think depending on his camp, if he's a little inconsistent or he isn't like lights out per se, then you know what to do with him.
Yeah, like Josh Norris did okay playing in the American Hockey League. Nobody's looking back at him going,
it didn't hurt him.
Man,
it didn't hurt him
playing in.
Yeah.
So
well, because you regress as a player. You regress. Well, you've seen it, right? Like you bring a player in, like let's say I'll use myself as an example. When I got to the NHL level and I started getting a taste, they started calling me up a little bit. I was bouncing up and down. I'd get there and I'd be playing with a third pairing defenseman, no slight against that player. And you know, I'd be playing 12 minutes a night, you know, and not very confident and gripping my stick a little hard because I knew I wasn't a priority to be out there on the ice. But then I'd go back down to Syracuse and I'd be scoring goals and making plays and playing real good hockey. So, you know, there's something there. And I think with a lot of these young players, depending on the type of player, more specifically a role player, I think you want them to get touches and ice time.
I just got a question for you. When you were playing in the third pairing, were you always in the defensive zone to start? Like, did they ever give you offensive zone starts?
No, I mean, that's how it is, right?
Right. Like, you're just scrambling.
And they don't give a shit. Like I remember, you know, coming off the ice and I was in Columbus, right? So we had such a nightmarish division. I was playing in the West. That's when Columbus was still in the West. And we had like Detroit when they were just an all-star team, Chicago when they were a Stanley Cup team, Nashville when they were just a nightmare to play against. They had a lot of tough guys. Like it was, and St. Louis, it was the best division in hockey. So I'd go up there and it'd be a nightmare some nights, right? Like it would be like waves coming at you one after the other. So, you know, that would kill my confidence a little bit. And then eventually my play would start to regress after a couple games. They identified that and they sent me down. Did I want to get sent down? No, but it was the best thing for me.
But you also played Syracuse, if I'm not mistaken, was a pretty good team then too, right?
Yeah, we had a good team.
You go from struggling in Columbus to playing, and the confidence level just changes when you're winning hockey games.
And that's the thing that you mentioned earlier about, well, you know, they're thin in goal with Ottawa, for example. Like it's important to have a competitive team down there in the American League because everybody benefits, right? You don't want to go down there and get shellacked every other night on the weekends because, you know, you've got a weak team or you've got a bunch of liabilities on D or in goal. You want to make sure that you've got a good foundation because all these kids that you're grooming up to play at the NHL level are learning from these guys. These are the guys that are basically teaching them and showing them how to do it. So you need some good leaders down there. You need to pay a couple of really good players. You know, those long-term AHL guys that never could quite crack the NHL level, but they're probably making $200K down there. They're really good. They're all-stars. You need those guys. They're critical for the development of the other young players.
And this might be your era. I always get confused with times all the time. Is Denny Hamel. Denny Hamel was a great AHL player. He just wasn't. Yeah, he just wasn't great in Buffalo. Like he had a couple of good years, but Ottawa signed him, made him captain, and paid him like $400,000 to play in the American Hockey League just so he could teach the players down there. And he was well loved by the fans. He became part of the community. Like you can make some really good money playing in the American Hockey League, even if you can't crack an NHL lineup.
Agreed. And he was a beauty. Like I had the pleasure of golfing with him long after I retired. I finally met him at it was a random tournament in Castleman, and he lives out there. Really nice guy, highly skilled, like
Yes.
a lot of, like he had that pedigree where he just knew the game very well, but just couldn't make that jump. And that's the case with a lot of players. There's a lot of very talented players in the American League that just can't figure it out at the NHL level or translate that. And oftentimes it's either, physicality or lack of physicality rather, and being in great shape or a good skater. There's always something kind of missing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. I don't know. Like Brad Smith is in the AHL Hall of Fame. Like that guy could score goals at will. It just wasn't, I don't think his foot speed was good enough to play in the National Hockey League.
And that's the difference.
Yeah. So speaking of big, strong forwards coming up, Nick Paul is on our show today as we chat with him about playing in Tampa, what the difference is like. And he's looking forward to facing his former team come this season. All that's still ahead. Reminder, if you're looking to refresh your front yard or do a complete landscape makeover, need some landscape stone aggregate, thinking of redoing the driveway, give our friends at Bonisher Excavating a call. They're here to help. Competitive pricing on your landscape needs. 613-432-1120 or go to bonisherexcavating.com. BEI, helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Meth, we'll be right back. Nick Paul, as you're watching the Wally Methot Show. Welcome into the show, Nick Paul, our good friend. Good to see you again. Unfortunately, this time, though, as a Tampa Bay Lightning, which is always tough for us. But we appreciate you taking the time. We got lots to talk about. And you know what? I'm going to start with, how does it feel to sign your 7-year deal?
Yeah, no, definitely, obviously, a tough pill to swallow after losing out, being that close to Lawrence State. It kind of turned around quickly when my agent called me, and they wanted to get things done right away. And they liked the player I was, and they thought that I was a good fit for the team, and they wanted to get a deal done. So, I mean, my agent started negotiating, and there's not much. They knew what they wanted, and they were pretty. They started off with good numbers and kind of good years of length, and from there it wasn't much negotiating. And I mean, 7 years is in Sunshine State, a really good team and a really good organization. I'm super happy.
Yeah. See, I wasn't going to bring up the Cup final just yet. I thought we'd ease into it. So, did you know the irony maybe of signing that contract on July 1st was, I believe, 8 years after the day that you were traded to the Ottawa Senators from Dallas?
Really? Yeah, no. Man, time flies.
And you went through a lot, right? Like all those 1-year deals, I don't know if I'm going to be in the NHL. I just like, was there more to signing that deal? Like, did you reflect on that, or is it just pen to paper and I'm moving on?
Yeah. I mean, I've been through a lot through my career and 1-year contracts and trying to prove myself, and just trying to stick and being on waivers a countless amount of times. It's like, you know what? I want some security. And I kind of, the biggest thing for me is I kind of found my role in what I do best, and I'm not trying to go outside that. Obviously there's times where I can push the envelope when I'm feeling it a little bit, but for the most part, I know my role. And with Tampa, they kind of, not saying Ottawa didn't, I have nothing but good things to say about Ottawa, but I just felt like they really valued what I can do in all situations. And it was somewhere where it was like, okay, I know this is a good fit for me. I feel good. I like the coach, I like the staff, I like the organization. I love the people on the team in the area. I wanted to start my family. My fiance and I are getting married next year. So a lot of that came into play, and security. So 7 years was kind of a good number for us to start a family, to fit in. And then the best thing is Tampa's always willing to do whatever they need to make a push for the Stanley Cup. So whatever they need, whatever the players need, whatever we need to win, they'll do. So it's a good spot to be. And I mean, we're still really, really good. So we got some time for some more runs.
What were your first impressions? Like so you go to Tampa, completely different locker room. You're obviously an established player now. What were the big changes that you had noticed coming in from Ottawa? Obviously, I'm aware 2 different teams, one's vying for Stanley Cup and all, but was there anything that really stood out to you when you got there?
Well, first off, I just thought like Tampa's stacked. A couple of Hall of Fame guys, like some legends there, right? So I didn't know how the room was going to be. If me coming in, I got to kind of warm up to these guys, and you see them on the highlights every single morning, right? So you're just like, you don't really know how it's going to be, but they were unbelievable. Like Stammer's one of the first guys to text me, invites me out for dinner. I go with all the guys, and they welcomed me and made me feel like I've been there forever. It was just such a cool. I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't think anyone had egos or anything like that, but to really step in and then be like as nice as they were and to make me feel like I've known them forever was just. I felt a part of the team right away. It didn't even take a week, and I started telling my jokes, and you know me, I'm a little bit of a silly guy, so I was telling jokes and riddles a day, and they were just encouraged. They loved it. They're like, tell us another one. And then I'm making up nicknames for myself, and then they're chirping me, and I just kind of fit in right away. And that's what kind of helped me play good right away, is because I wasn't worried about off ice stuff. Everything was just, all right, I'll focus on ice. And then Coop, he just had confidence. He's like, hey, I know you're a good player. We traded for a reason, but it's obviously a different situation here. So just show me what kind of player you are and where you fit in. Just kind of gave me no restrictions and let me play. And then from there, I just kind of took the reins, took control, and then I started working my way with minutes and scenarios and PK and power play a little bit. So it was it definitely started off the ice with the guys, make me feel comfortable, and then from there it's just you're focusing on the game and then just build.
Was there any doubt early on when you got there that you'd get extended there? Like, did you think, okay, maybe I'm just a rental at this point, or what? Like, did you have a pretty good indication that you're likely going to be there for the long term?
So I had no idea. So I went there, and obviously I knew they were against the cap, and then so I had no expectations. My expectations, my goal in my head were to do anything I could do to help the team win. If that's playing 6 minutes a night and that's where I fit in, and I'm blocking shots and I'm putting my body on the line, I'm doing it. And luckily for me, I kind of fit into a role where I got more minutes. But I would say about halfway, a couple of weeks before playoffs, I called my agent. I was like, "Hey, I love it here. Like the guys are awesome, the weather's awesome, the girls are awesome. They accepted my fiance right in the room. She fit in there. She's over at girl's house and everything.
Nice.
But yeah, and then I'm like, they're just something about the environment. It's just it's so confidence. Like you just know you're gonna win. You know, it's not like a cocky, like we're the best. It's just like, hey, no matter what it takes, we're gonna get it done, and someone is gonna step up to do it. So it's just this feeling I had, and I called my agent. I was like, hey, I love it here. Like, is there any chance that they have any room to sign me? Like, just kind of asking. He's like, honestly, Julian's a wizard when it comes to numbers and getting what he wants and making the team as best as he can. So he's like, I don't know. They're up against the cap, but he's a wizard when it comes to numbers and making things work. So just play here or play hard, have good playoffs, and then after season we'll deal with that. So that's kind of the only talk I had with him, and I was like, I just took all of that out and just worried about winning a Stanley Cup. So it ended up taking care of itself, and I mean, 7 years, I'll take it. You know,
huge, and well earned.
Yeah, thank you.
It is exciting. You left me with so many questions from that little last comment, and I've got to go back to what nicknames did you give yourself?
Well, I know Bogosian knows Tyler Ennis, who Ennis is one of the best guys I've ever played hockey with. He's
best to ever do it.
Oh, the best to do it, that's for sure. But he even in Ottawa, I just like threw around Nick. Like I was just kind of I want to be that guy in the morning. Like, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. We weren't the best for a little bit there. This is my first playoff run, so I've seen some pretty dark rooms in the AHL and all that. And I just like, you know what? I'm tired of all this negativity. Like, if I got to be the guy to lighten up, chirp a little bit, get chirped, have people chirp me, you know, massive eyebrows, big nose, whatever, I can take it. Tell me what you want. I got thick skin. So I was just kind of that guy that just gets the room going in the morning, have my coffee, chirp guys' haircuts, kind of get it rolling and stop this negativity. So I kind of fit that role, and that's kind of what helps me play is like jabbing people and taking jabs. So going over there, I guess Enzo passed on some funny nicknames that were just given out. So so then I came out of there, and then I started telling. So they knew me right away from like a joke and a riddle a day because I got a crazy amount. So they're like, what do they call you over there? Like all these jokes and stuff. I like made up something on the spot. I'm like, they call me the Big Ridley, and then that stuck. And then they called me like Big Back. Like, I just make up like stupid nicknames, and then they stick for like a week. And then they go on the next. And at some point, they just like probably like I don't think you actually have these nicknames. I think you're just telling us they call you this. And then, yep, pretty much. And then it's just it just adds a little bit of character to the room, a couple levels. And then they know that I'm like, when it comes game time and everything, I'm super serious, but anything before, it's like, you need to laugh. You need to not take it out on someone, but you need someone to get you going, get it out of something. Like I'm just that guy. Right.
Yeah, you have to, right? Like it's such a long season. If you're playing one game a year, it's an NFL season. I get business all the time, but you can't survive in this league without having a little bit of fun, right? Imagine just a room of 23 robots. Like there's no chemistry. So that's good.
And you know how it is, Math. Like it's all about the flows of the game. If you're negative and you go on that ice, bad things happen.
Boy,
it attracts you. Like if you're in a practice, you're like, man, I can't make a pass today, and you think that you're not making a pass all practice. So
yeah, when you're like confident, almost bordering with cocky a little bit, like you're really confident in your game and you're having a good time, everything just kind of comes automatic, right? And then you start playing those games where you might be off for a night, and you start overthinking everything in skates and practices, and everything just compounds. So I couldn't agree more. And to your point there about the jokes, I played golf last week with Paulie at the Faces tournament. I don't think he can share it, but it was fantastic. I cannot overplay this enough or overstate it enough. He is a great storyteller and joke teller. Do you have any on the spot here for us, Paulie? Any PG stuff?
I don't know. Like I just
I know I'm putting you on the spot. We'll save it for the end of the show.
I was about to ask the same question.
I don't know. Like in the situation, I just kind of
I know.
I get going, but yeah, no, I just I had this in Tampa too. I did an interview, and then they heard like
tell us a joke,
and I'm on camera. I'm like, why did this Scarecrow get a promotion? It's like he's outstanding in his field, and then they're like, oh, okay, and I'm like, yeah,
that's what they were. They're like dad jokes, right?
They're just a little comment, but they fit,
Because we were pulling up to a tee. We were like on the 4th or 5th hole. We've already had a couple of drinks, and like we're not really talking at this point. And Paulie out of nowhere just goes, hey guys, come over here. I got a joke for you. We're like looking around like, what? And he all had us in stitches. It was fantastic. Yeah.
So have you gone up to any Tampa players and tried to, I can see Andre Vasilevsky and you going to tell him a joke and he just has a blank stare on his face.
Well, you got to pick your crowd, right? You got to know who's gonna like that's the thing. Vass, like the game days, you just stay away. You let him do his routine. You don't mess with him. He's the best goalie in the world.
Is he intense? Is he like a super intense guy?
Game days, yeah. He's got his routine and he's focused. But I mean, practice and everything. Like I talk to him in the morning and you joke around, and he actually gets pretty funny. He's witty. He's sarcastic. Sometimes he tells jokes and kind of looks at you straight face, and you don't know if he's joking or not. But he's an awesome. I like him. Vass is I like Vass a lot, and yeah, just game days. You just stay clear, let him do his routine, and he stops the pill like no other.
All right. So you're on the ice for your first practice and you're going to shoot on Andre Vasilevsky. Are there rules?
Honestly, keep it low. I'm not raising that puck over the pads. I'm just hitting pads. Like we got to a point where so we were in I remember we were in Washington practice rink, and this was right after Carolina, and we're doing a practice whatever, and we move the nets on the blue lines. It's like a little 3-on-3 where coach slides the puck in. And I remember just trying to feel like I'm just trying to show like I can, like what I can do basically in practice. And I just let like a little snapshot go, and I don't have the softest shot, and it just rings them right off the side of the like jaw side. No. And then I go, and I kind of look in the line, and then everyone's like kind of like, and I'm like, okay. So then ever since then, I kind of just, he knows now, like in practice or like in game day skates, he kind of gives me the old, okay, glove side or blocker, use a little shake to shoot for it. Yeah, no, he's unreal.
Does he let you score in practice? Is he one of those guys that doesn't really care in practice or wants every puck out of the net?
Yeah, no, he it all depends. Like sometimes on game days, he just wants to feel the puck. He doesn't really want to like get too into it, and he just wants to feel it. And then other times, like you can't score him at all. So,
okay. So what's that first day? Did you go to dinner before your first practice, or was that first day when you walk in the locker room? Like, was it nerve-wracking, like the first day of school?
So my first day was super awkward. So I didn't know anyone on the team. Like I played against Sorelli and Junior. I didn't really know anyone. So I flew into Carolina before they got there. So I'm in the hotel and I got like an hour before they come in. So I'm just kind of sitting there like, what do I do here? Like, it's kind of awkward. And then I'm like, sorry, my dog's in here. Get out of here. She hasn't been with her. So then I get in and then I'm kind of like, okay, Coop texts me. He's like, hey, we're going to be there in about an hour. I'll come see you. We'll talk. We'll figure it out, all that. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, who do I know? Like, who can I go to kind of like mesh in and them introduce me? And then Hagel was there from World Championships. So I text him and he's like, yeah, man, I don't know anyone here either. Like, I'm still trying to figure it out. So then I get in, everyone's kind of walking in. I'm saying hello, like a million different people. And then the staff comes and the trainers, and then Coop grabs me. And then, so there's like a PA dinner that night. So it was actually perfect because they had a team dinner in one of the ballrooms. So I just kind of sat there and I was with, I think it was Hetty, McDonough, Stamkos, and then Hagel. And then from there, they kind of talked to me, introduced me, everything, and then the practice. And then we played, end up scoring. I think that helped a little bit with the boys. And then from there, it was, I was able to go to dinner and everything. But I was just kind of meeting everyone on the fly. And then I had to go to the rinks. I didn't play for like 2 weeks because they were sitting me out for the trade just in case we got traded. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good.
Did you like, was there nerves around that group? Did they make you feel like they wanted you and were excited to genuinely have you join this team for this run?
Yeah. No, they were awesome. And I just remember like in media one time I was with Stammer and he was just like something. He's such a good leader. Like I remember it was in playoffs. We were actually against the Leafs. And I was doing media with him. He's like, we just don't want to win this for 3 cups. We want to win it for guys that haven't had a cup. And, you know, like I'm sitting beside him. He's like, Paul here doesn't have playoff experience. Like we want this for him. We want to show him what it's like to be a winner and to win a cup for him. Like he's putting me over himself and some of the guys saying, guys, first time cups, like it's unbelievable. Like they need that experience. And just like the way he leads, the way he demands respect without really just being a good guy and being a good leader, it speaks volumes. And if he needs to give us a little kick in the butt, like everyone listens, everyone like ponies up. Like it's he controls the room. It's powerful.
How good was that goal to be scored? 2 days later, you're scoring the opening goal of that game. You're like, okay, yeah. Everybody's like, oh, hey, we just scored a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah, no. It's funny because I felt tired that game. My legs were heavy. I was off for a little bit, and like when you start overthinking and panicking, and like it actually is, you're more tired. Like when you're thinking, your legs get heavier. You can't really breathe because you're focusing. Like, oh man, this is so hard. And then to get that goal was just huge. Just like a little redirect. Ended up going just over the glove, and then from there, just kind of eased the nerves. And it's like, okay, I'm in the rhythm now. And it was. Yeah, it was awesome. To get done the first game, I think was really huge because it just takes the pressure off of self expectations of proving yourself to people, right?
You talked about playing your first ever playoff game. So you've gone 7 pro years. I don't think you've played one playoff game anywhere. Yeah. And now you're playing with the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. What's the mood like as you go into your first playoff game?
I was just thinking to hit as hard as I can and to skate as fast as I can and not worry about making plays. Obviously, when you're feeling it, you make the plays. But my goal was to play a big, heavy, hard game. You know, get on the forecheck and make the defenseman think, hey, this guy's coming. He weighs 230 and he's putting all that 230 into a hit. So I was just trying to hit hard, be a presence, stir it up a little bit. And then from there, create space for your line mates. Because, I mean, when you dump a puck in, you're coming full speed. I don't care how big and how tough you are. You know someone's coming. And it just takes that half second of him being like, oh, shoot. And next thing you know, the play that he was going to make isn't there. Or he's thinking and he rims it. So that's what I was just trying to be a big presence. And then from there, kind of build on my game and work on the creating puck space and things like that. Because, I mean, you not pretend, but you go in like you're going to hit and then you peel and you kind of read where he's going. He doesn't even care. He's just whacking it and you get the puck and now you're in the ozone. So, and it's good momentum shift too, right? Like we want my biggest thing is to get the big guys out there. I want to do a hard cycle shift where I'm just ragging the puck and tiring them out, and then change on the cycle. And I'm high guy, go for a change. Next thing you know, pointer, stammer, cooch, one of the many guys on our team that can snipe are out there and in a good position. So
was that a conversation that that Coop had with you at any point, like prior, Paulie, as far as what he expected from you and your game? Because you all know, everybody that knows you can play pretty much anything in any way you want. But was like that role player sort of the expectation for you from the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think it definitely started that way too. Like he just said, like, I know what kind of player you are. He's like, obviously, I don't know to what extent, so I'm giving you the reins here to show yourself. But he's like, don't get away from what you're good at. You know, you're a big body. We want you hard forecheck. We want you hard on pucks, holding pucks, being good defensively, hard on draws. We need you for the peak. So I knew my core and what I needed to do. But when it comes to, okay, there's a 2-on-1, I don't need to just shoot the puck. I can make a play, or 3-on-2, or like my biggest thing is carrying the puck out of zones. I'm a big guy. So like, I think like once they moved me to center, they were really surprised and kind of happy how, like, if I get it in the middle, like I'm not just throwing it to the winger, I can skate through the middle and really take the puck and make someone make a play on me, right? So if I take up the middle, if that lefty comes to pinch or kind of angle me off, now I can throw it back to that left side and create opportunity. So I think as more confidence, and they put me in different scenarios that kind of see me build, my role definitely improved. But that's where they were so good. They didn't have a cap on me, right? They said, this is what you do it well. And if you want to show us more and it works, go ahead. But that's the biggest thing.
And I feel like that's a big, that's a very underrated part of your game. I know people that know you in Ottawa know that you would always crush the fitness tests and you would always destroy the skating test, which is an absolute nightmare. We talked to Shabby about it last week too, and he was kind of cringing, saying that they've changed it up. So is that something that you've always kind of had in your back pocket? Like, is this a genetic thing for you? Like, have you always been kind of a freak off the ice when it comes to your training and your habits, or is that something that has kind of developed in your adulthood?
Yeah, I was a late bloomer. I was small in my draft year, or the beginning of my draft year, and so like I kind of grew into my body late.
Yeah,
and I just, like, the biggest thing my parents instilled in me is just work. It doesn't matter how much skill, or no matter what it is in life, if you outwork the other person, like, good things will happen. It doesn't always work. You know, sometimes you see guys that put their feet up and do nothing and somehow get a job over the guy that puts the hours in, does everything. That's just how life is, right? Networking and everything. Sometimes it just doesn't work like that. But the biggest thing I've always, my parents always said, as long as you work hard and you don't give up and you push the envelope, good things will happen. So that was one of my big things in the summer. I'm lucky that I have a 6'3" frame and big and strong, and that obviously helps too. But I worked super, super hard, create a good base, and now it's kind of more of maintaining. I know I'm not going to try to put up massive, massive numbers in the gym. I kind of got my base of where I feel comfortable, the weight where I feel good.
Then that leads me right into that next question, because we had a little bit of a chat about this on the golf course, where you're like, the one thing you had noticed coming to Tampa is like, these guys aren't really running out of steam. Like, the expectation is to go long, and then having that short summer that we talked about, when it's time to, like, you gotta, you'll have a couple months. You just went to the Stanley Cup final. Now you've got like a couple weeks off. You have to figure out how you want to kind of manage that. What's been the biggest difference there? And like, what's the secret? How do they do it?
I don't know, man. There must be something in the water in Tampa. Like, for them to go to that many Stanley Cup finals, and obviously winning too, but to keep on going is just insane. Like, I've always had long summers, so I didn't get it. And this is my first summer where it's like, okay, the body's hurting a little bit. So the first bit's just taking care of your body. You don't want to start working out on bad, like a bad knee or bad shoulder. So it's all about recovery. And then from there, it's just kind of maintaining that strength and then building. So like for me, I just started a couple weeks ago, just doing explosive and heavy. And then now I'm just kind of maintaining that. I got my power. I'm on the ice, and it's a shorter schedule for sure. But I mean, I work out with Chris Schwartz, and he's got it pretty dialed in for me, and I've been feeling great. So, but yeah, that many runs in a row to keep having gas and to keep pushing the envelope and keep being the top team is super impressive. And I mean, it just all comes as a group effort, right? There's no single efforts on that team. Everyone does it for each other. And when it's time to step up, you don't just have a handful of guys. Anyone on that team can step up. And that's why I think they're so good because they just have confidence in everyone. Anyone can step up.
Exactly. And that's, I was just going to, one last little note on that. Is Kucherov a freak of nature off the ice by any chance? Or is he just sort of one of those anomalies that can just bring it like you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I'm not like I wasn't there long enough to really, because when I got there, the schedule was crazy. It was like a game every other day, and then we were on the road, and then like even for the playoffs, we went on like a 6-day road trip before playoffs, and then flew to Toronto, and then we had another week there. But I mean, I just know from on the ice, this guy is unbelievable. Just the little things that like playing against him you don't really notice, but then when you're on the bench, you kind of like I kind of get lost just watching him sometimes.
Yeah,
the way he protects the puck, where he's like kind of gliding, and he like shows that you can kind of hit it, but you can't because he's positioned where you can't. Waits for you to lunge and then makes the play, and it's the back of the net. And it's just like I don't know. He just makes it look easy. I would have a tough time trying to follow what he does, but you know he brings it. He's awesome.
Yeah,
but he gets labeled, if you will, for us watching, like he's really lazy. Like he just. Because he slows the game down. We all look at him, and I'm not a pro player, so
it's
Meth
his
may
style.
not feel the same, but yeah, he just looks like he doesn't give a shit. And then all of a sudden he has 3 points.
Yeah, no, he just thinks the game completely different. His IQ on hockey is off the charts. Like if you watch him play, he doesn't play like every other player. He plays, he knows it works. He goes to spots on the ice where people don't even think about going, and next thing you know, the puck comes to him, and he's got a ton of free space. He makes a move on one guy, and that's in the back of the net. And you're like, hey, like I don't know how he read that play, but he did it. And then like, so I played with him for a couple games there, and I scored 1 goal. I remember I rimmed it around to him on the half wall. He didn't look at me once, and I'm skating to the slot, beating my guy, and then the puck hits my stick. He didn't even look at me. And then I just turned around and shot, and ended up going in. And I'm in my head, I'm like, how the heck did he know where I was going? How he didn't even look at me once. His back was turned. He gets it. There's like the behind the backhand pass right on my stick, and I'm kind of looking, and then I'm like, okay, I better shoot him in the slot. You know, like he reads, and his passing game is phenomenal. He just reads the game, amazing.
Yeah, it's good intel.
I know we keep going back and forth in the playoffs. The Toronto game, where you single-handedly is a bit strong, but you had arguably the best game of your pro career. You score the only 2 goals in a 2-1 win, including the overtime winner.
God, it made me happy.
What was that game like for you? And we bring this up, but I'm sure I don't know if it has any impact in your life. It was against Jason Spezza, who you were traded for. But was any of that stuff and being in Toronto, all that a part of how that game played out?
I don't know. There's a lot of history with Toronto. Like I grew up there that's where I started to love hockey, going to hockey games there, watching Toronto Maple Leafs like Matt Sundin, Ty Domi, Darcy Tucker, Cujo, list goes on. So I grew up there, loving hockey there. That's where I fell in love with it. To kind of come back in Game 7 in that arena and then do that was pretty special. You know, my brother was there. My parents already flew to Tampa, but my brother was at the game. He was actually right behind the net when I scored my first one. But yeah, no, it was special. And just to get that second one, and I mean, the crowd was booing us in warm-ups, and like Toronto fans they love their team, right? So they're pretty good. So that second one just kind of, it was nice, little hands to the side saying like, what now? You know?
Yeah.
It was special to do that in my hometown. And I mean, going into that game, you know, Game 7, everything's on the line. You got to leave it out there. So I was more excited for that game. I think I didn't start the best. I remember I'll be your assistant there. I think I turned the puck over twice in the first shift, and you could just tell I was kind of a little too amped up, a little jittery and thinking too much. It's like, hey, Paulie, just play hockey, man. Don't think about it. You're overthinking right now. And then from there, I just kind of started feeling it. I mean, Pointer going down that series, it was a tough loss for us, but someone had to step up and play those minutes. So I started playing more up the lineup. And I don't know, they had around 20 minutes that game, or 18, 19 minutes, somewhere in there. So
a lot of ice time for a big guy.
Yeah, no, my 18 minutes is a heavy 18 minutes. But yeah, no, it was unreal. And I guess Hoppy just coming to me like, hey, another game, play hockey. Like, you know what to do. So, no, that was a huge game for me. And I mean, I feel like I'm well known in Ottawa now. Just people coming up to me and saying, "Oh, thanks for doing that to the Leafs."
Well, and that was going to be my next thing, is because the Leafs, I just find there's like an arrogance to them. I don't expect you to comment on that, but it just seems to me like they're a team that like I'd really want to beat, especially now with some of their leaders that they have. How good was it just going into that? Like, now that you've experienced the playoff thing, just shaking the opponent's hand after beating them. I mean, is that not the best feeling?
Yeah, no, it's good. And especially after a war like that series was just a battle back. Like, they were so fast, back and forth. Like, the momentum changes in those games were nuts. Like, all of a sudden they're hemmed us in for like 10 minutes. Then we go and we hem them for 10 minutes, and big hit here. There's chirping. There's everything. It's just it was a full war is what it was. And then to have that done, and you're the ones on top and you're shaking their hands. It's pretty special, you know.
And
yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to touch on that before we shifted. I wanted to ask you about Corey Perry. I played with him in London. I know his nickname's the Worm. I love Pears. Like, Pears was our basically he was our captain, and he was our leader, and he was a greaseball. Like, so what was it like playing with him? And I mean, you know, a guy that seemingly was always known as a skilled player, but obviously kind of has found a new role as an older player now, where he's a bit more of a pest, even more so now than he was before. And he's hitting guys, he's fighting. What was it like playing with a guy like him with all the experience that he has under his belt?
It's unbelievable. Pears is I couldn't say enough good things about him and all the experience that he brings, and to see a guy going later in his career and shifting his game, and it's still, like, what do you put up, 38 points this year, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
He still made himself effective. And I mean, power play, he came up huge in the playoffs, some big goals, stepped up. And he just, those things he'll take a drink out of the goalie's water bottle. Like, he's in front of the net. He just, somehow he slides in and touches the goalie. Well, he's
so annoying.
Just little things that just, it kind of switches the momentum. And on the bench, you're just kind of smirking. You're like, did he just do that? Like, it's awesome. At the same time, you just see them, they're super pissed off. They're throwing off.
Man, it works. It works.
Like, he's so good at what he does. And then he's got it still. Like, people are saying, yeah, he's old or whatever, but he still has it. And what he brings to the table too, with leadership and how to play the game and professionalism, he's just such a good asset to the team. And like, I mean, you saw on the power play too, he's putting up some key goals.
Yeah, he's on the baseline, and he's got that move where, like, they'll go down him, and he kind of like toe drags it off his right side and brings it in tight to the net. It's so hard to defend against.
Yeah, and that's just him perfecting his craft, right? He's played so long. He knows what suits him and what he does best, and what keeps him effective. And he was huge for us. I couldn't say all year because I wasn't there, but definitely for the playoffs. And the guy, fourth, third, second line, wherever you need them. And when they're on even that fourth line, they were huge. They were carrying momentum. They were a huge part. They scored some massive goals for us, changed the momentum into our favor. Like, it's
that's like Maroon's on that. Well, Maroon was in and out, I think, a little bit, but like, is he just talking to guys all game on that bench? I remember playing against him and him always wanting to fight me, and I was like, you know, no, thank you. Yeah. Was he still like that in the playoffs? Is he always talking shit to players?
Yeah, he's roughing it up in front, and he's a big body, and he's not afraid to. He's a witty guy. He can chirp. So if someone starts getting a little mouthy, he'll be the one in between the benches, settle it down, and kind of say some stuff to them. And I mean, he's huge too. Like, a lot of people don't give him enough credit. I mean, he scores some big goals. He's got some silky hands.
Yeah,
he's like, even when I played against him, I didn't realize how good hands he had. And I mean, when he played in Edmonton, what do you have, like 20 something goals, 25 goals, something like that. So he's another huge. He scored some massive goals for us. And I mean, like I said, anyone on the team can step up. That's the fun part, right? Anyone can be the hero, and we have a bunch of guys like that. And I mean, we have confidence in everyone. There's not one person where, like, oh, like, don't put him on the ice. Not saying that that's how it is, but you know, sometimes, like, oh, like, last minute of the game, anyone on their bench, whoever's feeling it is on the ice, and that's the fun part, because they let heroes be made.
Nice.
Your other second game winning goal in the playoffs was in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final, which ended up being your first win, Tampa's first win. What's it like for you? Here you are, you've just played in the playoffs for the first time. Now you're in a cup final. Was there nerves at the beginning? Was it like, I can't imagine what it's like for you having waited this long to play in the playoffs to now be in a cup final.
Yeah, I think nerves went away after the first playoff game. It was just like, it was more, I shouldn't say fun, because it was still like obviously a little nerve wracking at some points, because I mean, you know what the end goal is and you know what you're playing for, but it was just kind of a game that suited my style. I like playing a heavy, no space kind of game, guys on you, cross checking, a little bit of chippiness. I liked it. I thought that was kind of my game. You know, everyone, like our team, the amount of shots that we blocked and the things that we did for our team was just outrageous. So the cool thing about it was when you see someone block a shot and kind of put themselves on the line, it's like you get that feeling on the bench. It's like, okay, what can I do? Can I go block a big shot? Like, I want to get the boys going. Can I go make a big hit? Can I go score a goal? Can I make a play? So it was just, we fed off each other so well where nerves weren't even a factor. You're just like, okay, this guy wants to win. He's laying out on the line. McDonough he just broke his finger off a shot, and he's got a sling on and he's playing hockey still. Like, what can I do? What do I bring to the team? So I think it was more of creating our own fuel. You know, we wanted to play for each other. We saw Stammer, what was it, game 2 in Florida, went down the tunnel 3 times off block.
Oh yeah, I remember
comes
that.
Back every single time. Like, your captain's doing that. How do you not get chills and be like, hey, then I'm gonna go, I want to eat one, you know, take 105 slap shot of my face, you know.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah, no, that's just the kind of just the mojo that was on the team, and the nerves kind of go away. It's just like, okay, now it's time to win. Like, this is what it takes, and you're just doing anything you can.
What's the handshake line at the end of that one like?
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, hockey's such a battle and such a war, and like when it's game on, it's, you want to rip guys' heads off, but as soon as it's done, there's a mutual respect on the game. You know, we all know how hard it is. We all know battling through injuries, blocking shots, big hits. We know pests have to be pests, but when it comes to the game being over, it's a mutual respect on how hard guys play the game. And I mean, sometimes it's just the better team wins, and you just got to pay respect. Like, hey, good job, good luck, have fun in the next round, whatever it may be, or have a great season. It's just a mutual respect, because we all know how hard it is to lay it out in the line. And I mean, it takes some, I don't know if I can say this, but it takes some I'll change my words, but it takes courage.
You can use balls.
Yeah.
It takes balls.
It takes balls is what it is. Like, it's not, people don't realize how hard this puck is. Like, if you ask me right now to like take a shot with no equipment, with a puck, even if it was just like a half shot, I'd say no chance. But as soon as the game's on, we don't have a lot of padding, and this thing's going like 100 miles an hour, and you're stepping into it, and you're like, I hope this thing hits me, which is a crazy mindset to think. But so we all
it's the only sport. It's the only sport. It's frozen vulcanized rubber coming at you at like 100 miles an hour, or whatever the speed is. So I get it, man. And it juices up the bench, right? Like when you guys block shots, especially forwards on the PK, and everyone's getting up and slamming their sticks, you can create momentum that way. So yeah, I get it.
And it takes their momentum. Like PK, I don't know how many times that Cernak or McDonough, Cirelli, they blocked 2 shots in a row. Our bench is going nuts. Now their PP is like, oh man, like they start hesitating. Like, man, what do we do here? You know?
And that leads me. This is a good question, because it kind of relates to the Sens right now and their plight on defense. How important? Because we were talking about Cernak when we were on the golf course, and you're talking to me about how crucial or critical he was to the success, because, you know, those old school, I don't want to call him an old school defenseman, because he moves really well and he can make plays. You know, how crucial is it to have those guys on the back end?
It's like, so to touch on what we were talking about, it's like, I shouldn't say it's new generation, but the new hockey coming up is a lot of social media based. So they want to be the ones that get the nice goals and the Michigan goals like the Zegers does. But that's not like, yeah, it's great to be those players, but to actually be one of those players is really, 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 really difficult. I mean, you can score in junior, you can score in the AHL, but the NHL, sometimes it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. And it's hard. You need those players that are willing to just play a role. It's not the prettiest, but guess what? They help the team win. They're not scoring 20 goals a year, but they probably have 100 block shots. They have a cycle going, and it creates offense for other lines. It's not a pretty game, but it's needed, and that's what you need to win. And like touching on Cernak, PK, you could line up. You could probably have a highlight reel on how many times it went D to D to one timer, and he goes out one knee down, blocks a shot, goes off the ice, comes back, does it again, takes in the same spot, goes off the ice, comes back, and then PK or 5-on-5, just hard to play against, cross check, throws hard hits. You can't get around him. You're kind of thinking, okay, I'm on Cernak's side. I might as well just cycle the puck. I don't really want to go to the net because I'm going to get cross check, boxed out in front. And then breakouts, first pass right on the tape, doesn't overthink anything, doesn't try to overstick handle. He plays a simple, hard game, and he's perfected it, and that's why he's such a good player.
I agree.
You're watching an interview with Nick Paul, brought to you by Ridge Rock Brewery, ridgerockbrewco.ca. Use the 15% coupon code WHAMSHOW and get 15% off your order, and try home delivery. By the way, you skate with Calvin DeHaan, I believe, a couple of times in the summer, as he's one of the owners of Ridge Rock. I got a couple of questions. One is, Matthew Tkachuk is now in Florida. You're well aware of the Tkachuk family. He's very vocal about not liking the Tampa Bay Lightning. Are you looking forward to this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, anytime we play Florida, it's a pretty good battle, and we have a pretty good rivalry, and they're a really good team as well. So it makes for good hockey. Yeah, I mean, it's Matthew going in. He's getting the Florida fans, and he's typing up to the media, which is good for the game, right? You want to tune into those games now, and you want to see what happens. So I like it. You want to say stuff in the media. I think that's good. And any kind of viewership or anything we can get on the game, I think is important. So I like it. I mean, if that means more people are tuning in and our games get a little more rivalry, I love it. Get a little chippy, get some chirping going, whatever it takes. We're all about growing the game, and I think that the NHL has taken that step now of kind of letting personalities be personalities and kind of follow them that way. And I like it. I think it'll be good.
Well, feel free to say something about Florida right now if you want.
He hasn't been there. He hasn't been there long enough.
It's going to be a good game. Obviously, the way the playoffs went and everything, they're going to want our heads next time we play. So any games against Florida, I mean, we want to be the best team in Florida. They want to be the best teams in Florida. It's a fun game to play
in. The Atlantic looks tougher this year, or looks better, stronger, whatever you want to call it, with Toronto, and then of course you guys are always strong. You see Ottawa obviously made some big additions. Are you looking forward to facing an Ottawa team this year? There's been a lot of change obviously for you, like Colin White's gone and Connor Brown and Matt Murray, and there's a few changes, so I don't know if it feels different to you, but are you looking forward to facing the Ottawa Senators this year?
Yeah, I think it'll be a cool experience. Playing in that rink on the other side is definitely something that's going to feel weird. You walking in through the back door or from the player's door and going in the dressing room for 7-8 years now. So being on that other side, and it's just a different feel. Like I know when I went to Tampa, it felt like a completely different rink being on the home side versus the away side. And then I don't know if that's because we're used to -40 snow when we get there, and it's a little sunburn from staying out on the pool deck. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but no, it's gonna be interesting. Definitely a lot of emotions tied there, and a lot of my grind, playing 5 minutes a night, doing whatever I can to stick, to thinking, okay, am I an NHL player? How do I prove that? To solidifying myself, to wearing a letter there, and having the trust of the coaches, and kind of developing the confidence I have now, and figuring out my role. So I think there's a lot of emotion and blood, sweat, and tears that went into that arena and that organization. So it will definitely be something on my calendar I'll be looking forward to.
Does your mindset change? I'm not saying that you, after signing the 7-year deal, I'm not saying you're sitting back and thinking I've made it now and I don't have to do anything, but does your mindset mentally change knowing that you have a 7-year contract instead of 4 straight 1-year deals or whatever it was?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I actually, at the golf course, someone was asking me about that. And for me, it's just, now no matter if I put up 50 points next year, it's not going to change how much money I make or anything like that. Right. So for me, it's all mental goals. Okay, this is what I want to do with my game. This is where I want to be with, see, for me, points isn't really a huge thing, but obviously it's nice, but I want to win. And that's the biggest thing. And it's how do I win? If I do this as a player. These are my PK numbers. This is how many hits I have. This around this many points. If I can get those personal goals, that ultimately helps the team win. So that's kind of where my mindset is being a player that is the most useful for the team and valuable. And come playoff time, I'm ready to perform at my best. I'm not trying to do something I'm not, like, hey, I got 7 years, doesn't matter what I can do. No, I want to show that I'm actually underpaid and I can outplay my contract, and that made a good deal. And at the end of the day, even if I outplay my contract and let's say I'm a 40, 50 point person, that's good for me. I'm not looking back pissed off that I should have got more money. For me, 7 years at that number is, you tell me that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you're nuts. So this is the right deal for me. This is the right deal for my family, for my future kids. So I'm happy. And now it's just me trying to be like, okay, you guys made a good decision in the 7 years. I want to prove to you. I want to show you guys, give you guys my respect and my everything that I have, and let's go win championships. Let's go win Stanley Cup. So that's the way I see it. I'm not kind of worried about the 7 years. I have my own goals. I have my own objectives. So that's kind of where my mindset's at.
Perfect. A couple of other outside of hockey questions. One, are you like golf, eh? Are you any good at golf?
Depends how my driver is that day, if I have to put in the bag or not. But yeah, I love golf. I mean, I'm a very competitive person. I like to, when things are hard, I tend to want to do them more. And golf's one of those things. It's like one day you're good, the next day you're terrible, and then you're like, hey, I gotta go on the range for an hour and figure it out. You go on the range, the next day it's right back, maybe even worse than it was before. So no, I like golf a lot. And I mean, I played with Meth, what was it, last Friday?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a fun game. I love golf a lot.
Do you play in tournaments?
So this year is my first. I'm playing club championships at the Royal. I'm in the I think it's B flight, so like a 10 handicap, whatever. So I qualified, and then I won my first match 1-on-1. So my next match is today. So probably get the range a little early, feel the hands, and hopefully outcome's good. But we'll see.
Do you have a caddy? Do you need a caddy for these things?
No, I don't. One voice in my head's enough. I don't need someone else. Everyone's like, oh, you should be used to pressure. You know what you did to the Leafs and the playoffs. You should be used. I'm like, yeah, but I put hours and hours and hours in my craft in hockey. Like, I'm confident in what I can do. Golf, I don't know if this thing's going left or right. So
yeah, but you were getting off the tee very well. Like, to me, watching your game, at least, like, your drives are monsters. And you're averaging, when you're hitting them clean, they're over 300 yards, right?
Yeah. My problem is they go so high. So if it does start moving, instead of like 5 to 8 yards, it's like 20 yards. So
yeah, your ball like trajectory, that height you have is insane. I thought I hit it high. You like trump all my shots with that. So that's good though, because it does bite, and you get a little more backspin on it too, right? So yeah,
no, it's good and bad. When it's windy out, my game is no fun to play.
Do you guys play down in Tampa then? Are you going to be I'm assuming you will be.
Yeah, Kaloran down there actually took me to his course, Avila. This guy's fun to watch. He's a scratch golfer, and he's just anything 100 yards in, you might go in every single time. It's
how do you go from playing, like, because you hear all these stories, and I never got to play in Tampa or for Florida for that matter. Why or how do you go from that, playing in that environment, in that with no state tax in a beautiful area on a coastal city, to playing elsewhere? I'm not going to name any. Ottawa's different for me because I'm from here, but anywhere else in particular, like, that's got to be a struggle to just get traded to some team up that must feel like Siberia, like if you're in Winnipeg, for example.
Yeah, no, like, it's funny, like, even during the season, we go to Florida, I'm like, man, it's paradise here. Like, you walk out of the rink after game and you just feel good. It's just something about the air. It's like, it's a lubricant in the joints. You start feeling good again, and you're like, yeah, man, this would be awesome. And then to think about like playing there for a couple of years and to go in somewhere else, it's definitely is it would be tough. No taxes, good weather, but I mean, thank God I did the opposite, right? Now I'm going there.
That's a real thing. That was a real thing. I remember Jaromir Jagr saying that about how playing in the warm weather and that humidity was good for his joints. Like, do you feel better on a day-to-day basis playing? Like mine get creaky in the middle of February here. Like I hurt everywhere. Do you kind of feel that effect?
Cold. Like in Ottawa, it was like a wet, like -30 cold. Like you didn't have gloves on. You're trying to text. You're like, what's going on with my hands? Like I can't move my fingers. You're like trying to. Anyways, but there, it's just like it's nice. It's about the joints, it just feels like there's a little something in there. You're like, oh, this is nice. I feel good.
Yeah, you just feel better. You just feel better for sure. Yeah.
Okay, Nick, I'm done. Do you, aside from telling jokes, do you have hidden talents or a hidden talent?
I don't think so.
If you had to do a Tampa Bay talent show, are you just going to be a stand-up comedian, and would that be what you'd choose?
Turn the lights off, put a spotlight on, and give me the mic. Not even good jokes. What? Probably just me laughing at my own jokes.
But that's the best part of it.
Jokes. So, well, I always say, everyone's like, why do you laugh at your own jokes? Well, if I don't laugh, no one is, right? So,
who are you handy at all? Like, if you need to fix something around the house, do you own a power tool?
I've been putting up pictures the last week, so I mean that's pretty handy. That ain't easy. Get the stud finder out for the big ones. So yeah, no.
Okay. Is it level?
Let me just move my. Is it level now? Yeah, no. Yeah, no. I put some. I get the whole everything out. I got the little tape. I got the leveler, the stud finder. So my dad is very very hands on. I try to learn from him. So
okay, good. So what do you do to relax? Play golf? Is that it?
Yeah, no, I golf. That's pretty much the big thing. I like to play golf and just walk it. You know, there's something different about hitting a good shot, which doesn't happen a lot, and just kind of walk into the ball and you're enjoying the weather. It's nice out. The course is beautiful with all the nature and everything. You hear the birds, crickets, whatever it may be. And you're just kind of out there, and it's just like nothing else matters. Everything else is off the game, and you're just focusing on not shooting over 90.
So Elon Musk just said he bought on Twitter that he bought Manchester United, and today Victor Hedman just came out with a group that just bought a tier 3 Premier Soccer team. If you had unlimited resources, what professional team would you like to own?
Ooh, that's tough. I feel like an NFL team would be unreal.
Yeah.
But or soccer. I'd say soccer or NFL. I think that'd be pretty sweet. Just the whole like the tail. I've only been to one game for NFL. The whole tailgating and everything, going in every Sunday would be unreal. But then again, football, look how many fans they have and how the chants and everything. I'd probably say like Barcelona. I'd probably just that'd be unbelievable.
That'd be pretty good. Are you expected to go to Tampa Bucks games this year? They're I looked on Sports Interaction. They're the second favorite to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if I could find. There's a day off that happens to fit perfectly. That'd be unreal. So I mean, watching Brady. Sorry, I got 2 Huskies and they love talking and playing. Hey,
sound like lions.
Yeah, no, we rescued one. She's like a husky lab. She was like Rottweiler face markings, but she's a handful. She loves to play. She loves to talk, and she's just so energetic.
What are your dogs' names?
Nash, and then everyone always asks, is that because of Rick Nash? No, it's not. I saw a dog at a dog park. His name was Nash. He was a big Malamute Husky, and I was like, I like that name, so I use that. And then the other one's Hazel. So
Hazel.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for that?
I just liked it.
Fair enough.
I know. All right. Matt, can you name all your dogs? You got about 9 of them.
That's hilarious. That was a good joke. I'll give you that one.
Well, there. See, now that we're into the dog days of summer, we appreciate you stopping by. Good luck at the Royal. Was Alfie there, by the way?
Yeah, he just got back. Him and Carl were in Sweden for a little bit there. Now they're back. 2 weeks ago they came back.
Yeah, you asked him that earlier, Wally, and he answered the question. Remember, he said that Alfie lost his first game.
That wasn't recorded.
Yeah, that was off record.
Was that offline?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he lost his first one. It was tight. Went to overtime holes, but man, Alfie, I play golf with him. He is an unbelievable golfer. He doesn't no practice swing, tees the ball up, and he hits down. He's fun to watch. He's unreal. I don't think there's anything Alfie's bad at.
No, there isn't. Last question I have for you: when you come into Ottawa, how much money is on the board by you to win that game?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll be throwing my hat in for part owner. Well, private investor almost, the money on the board. No, I don't know. We'll see. See what I can get away with.
We look forward to it. Thank you for stopping by. Good luck getting ready for the season. Not too much luck this year because we're hoping for Ottawa to win the Stanley Cup. I'm just kidding. Good luck this year. We look forward to watching you in the playoffs again. Thanks, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate once again Nick Paul stopping by. I hope he has a fantastic season. They're all skating, by the way, out at Sensplex. It's good to watch these guys. You get a chance just to see everybody who's normally just spends the summer here. Speaking of just guys hanging around, Craig, welcome into the show.
Hey guys, what's happening? Just hanging out in the back.
Hey, I forgot to ask Nick. I sent him my graphic I made of him, and he was very appreciative. He liked it. So maybe they're going to have to stay.
Sure. Keep knocking them out.
That was a bit your tongue kind of answer, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, dude, I'm gonna put it in now. Are you Brent entertained? That's going in for sure. If you're making social graphics,
oh yeah, I saw.
If you're making social graphics, I'm making stupid headlines. So that's where that's where we're gonna go with it. Are you not Brent entertained?
You know what?
I don't know.
It took me a second. I was like, what is he? And then I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. You weren't super high on the World Juniors. And I was like, all right, I thought I'd have a little fun with that. You're having fun on the socials. I thought I'd steal a little bit of your bit there too.
I appreciate it.
What I thought was fun during that interview though was Meth bringing up stuff that we clearly talked about before we started the interview. Almost like I thought that was really, he's like, you already asked him that. Like, I think all three of us were just like, oh, okay, how do we swerve back into this one? I liked when I didn't
know how to get out of it.
Yeah, I like when that stuff happens. Yeah.
Nath, why do you have to make it so difficult, Nath?
I'm not trying, man. I legitimately thought you had asked him early on. I don't know why. I had a brain fart.
It's cute.
Surprise.
That's fun.
Okay, so Craig, with that being said, it's people that don't know Craig sits in on all our interviews. You don't necessarily see him. However, we can see him. And in the middle, Baxter, the dog, comes in and he's just petting the dog.
Yeah, he has allergies. And so he gets a shot or whatever. And so he's still young, so we're still trying to figure out what it is. So he last year brutal allergies. They pumped him full of this stuff, and he was good. This time they said, let's give him a little bit less, and they hit him. I don't know if you guys have allergies. Like ragweed is kicking back up now, and so his eyes are just like dry, and he's got like he looks so. I don't know if you saw. I was just rubbing his eyes, like it's sad. He's going to the vet today.
Oh, that's tough. So yeah, because I can see it going on, but I'm trying not to pay attention. I'm like,
I know. I apologize.
Baxter just came and hung out.
He came over and kind of like put his head up, and I was like, he just wants me to rub his eyes. His eyes hurt. So yeah. Hey,
we're
boys,
a dog-friendly show.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's lots of dog talk today. Nick Paul dogs, Meth's army of dogs. Like everybody's got dogs. So yeah, it's there you go. A little bit of off-camera dog stuff happening today too. Hey, boys, nice work with Nick Paul today. It's nice to stay in touch with that guy after he left the area code. So it's nice to do him.
And he still hangs out. Like a lot of guys are still here, right? Mark Stone, Mark Borowiecki, I guess, Eric Carlson. Like
Stone sold his place.
I know, but he's still staying here. Like he's still trying to find another place to live in Ottawa.
Oh yeah, he was thinking about you're right.
So that's all I'm saying. Like all these guys continue to stay in the city.
Yeah,
they like to come back here. Like, and Mark, I know like his wife is from here, but they don't have a lot of ties to Ottawa. If they were just to stay in Vegas, no one would think any different, right? And
well,
you see a lot of these guys still continue.
Stoney's in a really tough spot because he's got to pick between Ottawa and Winnipeg, which obviously you go Ottawa every time, right? So, to your point,
But a lot of these guys that aren't from here, like Meth, you played in 2 different cities that aren't your hometown. Like, could you see yourself living in either of those cities? Probably, right? Like,
oh yeah, we tried. We wanted to stay in Dallas, but just the green card stuff, like which we were getting through the process. But at the end of the day, I think the season had just ended, and you don't realize how kind of lonely and quiet it gets once all the players start leaving town. And we were still there, and we had to stay 180 days in Dallas in order for us to complete the green card process. And Ellie and I just had Jack and our firstborn, and we just thought, okay, we don't want to deprive our parents and family. So we were bound by family here in Ottawa, and we came back. But I mean, I regret it every year in the winter. I love the summers here. I love the fall, but the winters are so long and cold. And I think that's the one deterrent for a lot of guys. But, you know, if you're coming back from your playing city to come back, live here in the Ottawa in the summertime, it's fantastic.
Yeah, especially if you got a bunch of other guys doing the exact same thing, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Like it's almost like it becomes, I mean, and like you see that in places like Nashville where guys kind of just congregate to one sort of division and then it's just a bunch of players that hang out together. So,
and there's a lot of guys that are living in Nashville. There's a lot of guys there that have made that their home base too, because there's no state tax. It's beautiful. It's warm. My wife was just there on the weekend. She's fallen in love with it. So, you know, it's where guys, it's a great city. And a lot of guys are also in around Florida, like near Fort Lauderdale and Parkland, like that's where Craig Anderson is. And I know a lot of the Czech players retire out there as well. So, you know, it's what you like. And if you have the option and flexibility to move, for a lot of guys, they'll do it.
Yeah. So why don't you buy an Hawaiian shirt and go sit in Florida with all the retirees?
It's not that easy. You need a green card.
No, but lots of people in Canada own a second property.
Yeah, but they don't have kids. You can't just yank your kids out of school halfway through the year because it's a 6 months cap on your travel there. So
Craig Anderson will teach them. He'll teach them school.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then that settles this discussion. Thank you for that.
I thought you like
if we didn't have kids, we would not be here. We would probably be somewhere warm. Yeah, and I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. But work, jobs,
I'm
careers.
right there with you.
Yeah.
I remember I always joked to ask TSN to open a Tampa bureau so I could work there. Like I hate the cold.
I used to do that too when I was like those like February games where it's like you're digging your car out of the thing. It's like, hey, I wonder if Anaheim needs anybody to do their social media. It's like let's go chill. Let's go chill somewhere nice.
And those teams don't need to do any promotion. Like they don't need to try to convince guys because players get off the plane. You guys remember when you guys work for the teams, like you get off the plane and it's like, oh my God, like the humidity instant. Hits you in the face. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes. Yeah. Anyway,
you have your jacket with you and you're like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing?
I don't need this. Leave it on the plane.
And then you go back and then you got to go back. And it's just,
it's tough.
I don't want to talk about winter, boys. It's August.
No, me neither. I know but it's coming. It's coming. Like it's cooling down now at nighttime, right? Like it's
sun
like, oh my
setting
God,
a little bit earlier. And
it's
not good, boys. August.
That means hockey season's closer. We're like 5 weeks to the first exhibition.
Which is great.
Game.
Yeah.
Excited for that. Yeah.
So with that said, boys, get outside and enjoy the time we have left in the summer. Okay.
Amen.
We'll catch you next time on the Wally and Methot Show.